Hi guys. So before I get into the dual-wield aspects of my sword play and before I get all into that aspect, I want to go over how to carry your sword and more or less how it was done in the past, and basically kind of modify that with modern methods and see if we can't find a common ground between the two like we always do. Okay, I understand I'm about to make a lot of purists mad. Okay, I'm not concerned. I'm sorry. I'm not. Quite honestly, nobody wears hakama anymore. Nobody walks around with hakama anymore. Nobody walks around, wearing traditional Japanese attire. And most of the people that do are not Japanese. So, okay. So understand, nobody wears hakama anymore. Nobody wears these, the obi or all that stuff, unless there's some type of a ceremony in Japan or something like that. So we have to modify things, okay? So, and thankfully, the way that the katana was designed, it really can go with just about anything, and you'll see that in a minute. Right now, the way I've got my katana set up is to be worn across the back. So basically, and I'm going to have to modify this again because this was made to have the long weight of the sword, and because it doesn't have that long weight anymore, it wants to hang like this. With the old length that it had, it would hang like this, no problem. So I've got to modify that anyway. So I figured I might as well do that while we're here. Alright, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on like this. I'm going to strap it to my back, okay? And I'm going to pretty much either stick the back into my belt, like so, to secure it, okay? Or I'm just kind of going to let it hang there, or, more to the point, I'll bring it around to the side, like this, okay? This is the comfortable and the correct way to wear it. You do not want to harness it to your back, because if you for some reason were to fall off of a roof or something, or you were to fall onto your back and the sword was in the middle of your back, it could cause spinal injury, especially with the square suba. Okay, see the problem here? Alright, so we don't want spinal injury, so you kind of want to carry it like this. If you need to draw it, you can always draw it from here, okay? Easy to draw this way, especially with the shortened length. I could even spin it around the back here by holding onto the scabbard here. I can literally push it up to my hand and draw this way, okay? Now maybe I'll have to modify, make sure that I know which way my sword's facing and stuff. Also, the nice thing about the Musashi scabbard, or the saya, if you see right here, it's thinner on the blade edge than on the spine edge of the scabbard. So that tells me what direction things are in, okay? So anyway, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my bottom of the scabbard, put the blade edge towards my palm, twist my palm, pull it back, and draw this way, like so, okay? So now I know my edge is right in front of me. I have the scabbard here. I don't have to worry about it, okay? And like I said before, I'm going to have to, I might have to add some weight to the bottom of the scabbard to solve that problem. That's probably what I'm going to do with that. So anyway, that's how I'm going to carry this one per se. And stay tuned and I'll get back with a different katana that I have. Okay guys, here's the other katana I have. This is actually my favorite one. Understand that both of these katanas are from Musashi. They're made by Musashi. Both of them were like, I think my Ninja Toe was the most expensive and that was like $100. This was like 60 or something. Not a wall hanger. These are not wall hangers by any shape of the word. They're both high carbon steel, 1095 high carbon steel in a katana, ura. Okay, so even though they are not very expensive, decent little sword. This is a decent sword. So anyway, first thing that you'll notice with this one, no Suba. I do not like a Suba on my swords, typically. I just don't. I don't like a guard because I find that it gets in my way more often than save my bacon. The only reason why I keep the Suba on my Ninja Toe is because it's a defensive sword. That's primarily why I have it for, and that's why it's shortened and all that stuff. Because it's designed to be used in my wielded in my left hand, not my right. My right, if we're really getting serious, is going to be this one. Okay. So anyway, with that being said, the Sageo on this did not come with the Ronin knot cord. I looked it up on YouTube how to tie this, and I tied this myself. I believe it was Kevin from Sword and Armory. I believe is where he's at now. Anyway, a guy from Chosen Ninja that I met through, or sort of met through Chosen Ninja, teaches you how to do this. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and untie it, and I don't have to worry about it because, well, he taught us how. So, and if I need help, I can always go back. Okay. So I'm going to untangle my Sageo here. And while I'm at it, I don't really need the gold furniture that they put on it. These are just the furniture nuts that they put on it, pretty much to give it a little bit of extra flair. I don't need this, and that's actually kind of beyond the scope of this video. Once again, you know, understand, I'm trying to teach you guys, instead of the beauty of things or the more artistic of things, I'm trying to teach you guys practicality. And see, that's a whole different ballgame. So anyway, you take your Sageo, okay, line it out completely, and then close to the kurikata, or the knob that the Sageo goes through, okay, you're going to just simply tie an overhand knot. And I just grab it like this, put my finger over it, wrap it around my finger, push my Sageo back through, and I understand this is ugly. This is the ugly way of doing things. I get it. I understand that I'm going to be making a lot of purists mad. Sorry. Okay, so now we got our Sageo tied at our kurikata. Alright. Now while we're at it, just as a personal preference, this, alright, I've got two tails. I don't want two tails. I want one tail. So I'm going to make another overhand knot at the end here. This is what will help me, alright, in securing. Alright, so now then, I've got an OD green U.S. military pistol belt, okay? Like I said, making this work for modern times, guys. Okay, so, basically you're going to stick it in the sword, as you would normally, okay? Now then, you have this Sageo hanging, alright? So basically we're going to go up under the belt, alright? And once again, keeping things modern, guys. I have, alright, see how that works? I've got that. Alright, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over it so that I cross the two. Alright, and then I'm just going to thread through. Okay, just a simple little knot. And actually, instead of threading through like that, I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a loop. Okay. So that now to release, all I have to do is pull that knot and it'll come undone. Okay? Anyway, so now our sword is secured to our belt. We don't have to worry about it flopping around, and now we can walk with it. Okay? Now, understand that you usually want the end of your tsuba to be in line with your center line. The reason is because it's easy to draw this way. Okay? And there's people that'll say, well, you shouldn't look at your scabbard when you're replacing it. Okay. I understand that that's the purest way of doing things. Now let's go ahead and look at the practice. Here's a piece of paper. I have sharpened my katana. Okay? It was sharp already when it came from the factory, but I sharpened it again. Okay. You see that? You see that? Okay? Do I want to be putting this back in the scabbard with my hand right there and not looking at what I'm doing? Come on, guys, common sense here. Training is great, and being able to have that training is great. But use a little bit of common sense, okay? Now I understand that you put your... Alright, okay? I'm not the greatest, okay? I am not the greatest at technique, especially with swordplay. I'm not going to say that I am. I'm not even close to that. The fact of the matter, though, is that I am careful with what I do, and I still get cut on a daily basis. Well, not a daily basis, but I still get cut. What does that tell you? Okay? So, anyway, I'm going to go over the few basic draws that we need to be aware of. Okay? First one is to pull out. Start to pull the katana. Slide the saya back. Draw this way. Okay? This one is the easiest one to do. It's easy, simple, straightforward, yeehaw. Okay? Alright? Now when you're drawing and resheathing your katana, you always want the spine to rest against the back of the saya. You never want the sharpened edge to come across the top of the saya, because over time this sharp blade will cut into the saya and eventually through it. Okay? So if you have your hand here and your sword goes through your saya, guess what happens? Your sword goes through your hand. It's not a pretty thing, folks. People have lost thumbs that way. Okay? It happens, alright? You have an ultra sharp sword instead of a chunk of wood. If you don't draw this thing correctly, this can happen to you. Alright? So, understand that. Anyway, so, once again, pretty much as long as you focus on that, you'll be fine. Don't let the edge of the blade touch the saya when drawing or resheathing. Okay? That's the first one. The second one, we're going to turn it directly horizontal, and the idea here is to come out and cut this way. I am not an Aido practitioner. I am not great at drawing and cutting. I'm not. However, these are some simple draws and cuts that you can practice, and if you get good with them, they can really help. So anyway, and all you're doing here, normally blades up, right? I just turned it to the side and drew this way. Okay? So all I did is, first thing, turn, come across. Okay? Okay. Now, the third way of drawing is to not turn completely over, but turn over 3/4 of the way. Notice how, right? I am not here, I am not here, I am not here, here. The idea here is to drop back and to cut upwards this way. Okay? This is the exact same path as one of the basic sword attacks that we talked about. Okay? Right. So once again, cut it down. We're going to drop back. We're going to come forward. Okay? The fourth and the last one is where you turn the saya completely over. The edge is now down, not up, down. Okay? And the idea then is if my opponent has decided that he's going to run at me, he's going to rush me, he's going to try to attack with a quick attack like that. Commonly, it'll be something like that coming in as he's running at me. So what am I going to do to defend that? Well, simply what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my left hand and I'm going to block the incoming arm and strike and cut. Once again, he's running at me. I'm going to block, strike, and cut. Alright. So now you understand that. I could just as easily strike this way, right? I have enough length here with my sajil. I can strike my opponent with my butt of my thumb. I can very easily, bam, right? And then pull back on the scabbard and cut this way. Like I said, guys, I'm not the greatest swordsman on the planet. I just know how to make things work. And that's all we're after here. The other nice thing about this katana is that it has a kozuka, or small blade, that fits beside the scabbard. Where this comes into handy is if I need a throwing blade, I have this to throw as a shuriken. So it's kind of neat because I get the sword and a shuriken. Also, it can be used for pretty much anything. Oh yeah, and while we're at it, like most of my blades, yeah, it's pretty sharp too. Okay. So even for such a small blade like this, you know, I could very easily use it in my defense too. You know, instead of drawing this big sword that I have, you know, I could very easily draw and stab using my kuzuka. It will not take as long. So that's something to be aware of. Let's look at downsides of carrying a sword in this way across your hip. Well, you see me fight with it constantly here. What if I bend down? Everybody wants to talk about this, about the friction lock at the saya for the scabbard. Newsflash, guys. If a katana is designed to be used as an Aido type katana or an Aijutsu katana, a lot of the time, and especially as katanas got older and sayas got older and things like that, this lock got very loose to where it was almost non-existent at all. So, you know, every time that you do anything, you want your left hand on your sword, if you can have that at all there, okay? So, you know, all the time, you're walking around like this, okay? Or you have your hand close to your sword, always, okay? That's something to think about. Another thing to think about is retention. You know, just because it's out here for me, yeah, it's a long suba, right? Long suba. How easy would it be for my opponent to try to grab it? Okay? If he does, that's when I do other techniques and tactics and things like that. But, you know, like very easily I could grab my kazuka and stab his hand, I could stab his neck, I could, you know, do a lot of things. But more than anything, I've got to deal with that. So that's another liability. If I've got my handle towards my back or under my armpit here, what's he going to grab? What is there to grab? So that's something else. So anyway, that's going to be it for this one. Thanks, guys. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your views. I appreciate your time. Defend your homes wisely.